Okay, second attempt at recording this. This is the fourth Ultramarines competitive video that I'm making here, addressing some questions about controversial picks and statements I have about some units in the armies. These are questions that I've gotten both on Discord and on Reddit, so I'm going to answer them real quick here and just kind of give you my thought process. So, controversial question number one: why do I pick bolters instead of auto bolters? Um, right? The auto bolters, I would get 30 shots instead of the 20 shots I get with bolters in turn 2 and 3. It's 30 shots at AP minus 1, 1 damage, versus 20 shots at AP minus 2, 1 damage. Um, for me, it's not just that the AP minus 2 is more likely to put more elite choices on invuls. Obviously, on things like orcs and lower tier Tyranids and stuff like that, it really doesn't matter too much. As long as you have AP, you'll generally punch right through. Um, but I'm trying to take all comers, so that extra 2 AP or the extra AP, bringing it to AP minus 2, I think is helpful. Um, right, that's if we're bringing them from one under their invul to their invul, that's a 16% difference in their chances of failing, which I think is significant enough. I have to do the math still. I still haven't finished quite working out the efficiency of, one worse AP versus 50% more shots. Percentages and probability, it doesn't really matter what order you do them in, and AP has a dubious kind of attack against saving throws, which are subject to invulnerable throws. Um, so greater AP has some diminishing returns against certain armies. There's a lot going on there, but the main reason I always want to take that one is here on the screen. Done a stunning little infographic here. You can see obviously our boy in blue is over there on the left, and the enemy is there on the right. That enemy could be some dark Eldar guys. It could be Tyranids, orcs, something that's going to try and get right in your face, and we're trying to shoot to death before he even gets close, right? So on the top is our 30-inch bolt rifle range, and on the bottom here is a 24-inch auto bolter range. Take my drink of water. So this is a gene stealer, let's say, who's got an 8-inch movement. Ideally for them, they make a 6-inch charge, right? With a swarm lord around, they make another 8-inch movement, another 6-inch charge. That's 28 inches. Um, Kind of a ludicrous threat range, but possible. More realistically, they would make the 8-inch movement and the 8-inch movement, and your average rolling 2 dice is about 7. So they have a 23-inch threat range, effectively. Before charging, of course, they have adrenal sacs, which lets them advance and charge. So 23, which means to fight us on the bolt rifles, that have to make a 6-7-ish-inch charge to get to us, which again, I just said 7 is the most common roll on 2 dice, but they still have to make the charge. There's still a chance they won't quite make it. Um, right? Getting close to 50-50. Might only be like 35 because it runs in sets of 8, I think, of differences. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a mathematician. It might run in sets of 3, which is one. Yeah, I think it is 3% differences in between each number combination. Um, that aside, they still have to make the charge. There's still a chance that they will not quite touch us at 30 inches. At 24, very clearly they touch you. They probably don't even need that much, right? An 8-inch movement and a let's say a 3-inch charge, it's 11, right? They're already quite close. They're not quite going to make it right off the gate, but if they have things like +1 to their advance, which different hive fleets and stuff like that do, now we're starting to get into some strange territory. Like if they make an 8-inch move and a 6-inch advance, which is now possible 2/3 of the time. Now we're talking 14. They're within a 10-inch charge, which is much less possible, but still possible. If they make a 7-inch charge, it's 15. They got a 9-inch charge to make, which is just had a deep strike. Some high fleets re-roll charges, right? I think that's Kraken. Scary stuff, right? I just find the 24 inches to be a little less safe. Consider also Democarian, which has a 12-inch move and can be asked by the Swarm Lord politely to move again. That's a 24-inch move. He's already right in your face. At least on the 30, again, we have to have them make a 6 or 7-inch charge. which is ideal. Um, they have they have to charge at least a little bit, just reducing their odds slowly. I'd have to do the math there again to find out which one is more technically efficient at shooting at targets like that. Gene Stealers, which I think have an invul, and Demicarian, but also Drukari, who are apparently the strongest and most rampant guys around. I spoke to some Drukari players earlier today, and they told me, in general, they consider their threat range to be about 22 to 25 inches. It does depend on their drug choice. There is a drug that lets them add to their movement, but it's a little less common. But they did tell me very specifically, like, yeah, our average melee threat range is probably getting into the early 20s. Considering not every battle and engagement happens at 24 inches, right? I'm a little I would be a little shaken by that. Like if I'm firing at you at 22 inches with my guys, right? To get that back rank in, you might be moving up an extra inch or something. Uh, you should be afraid the Drukari are going to come and touch you. But if I'm at 30 inches, I'm basically not afraid at all. And that kind of thought process, just keeping you at bay and still being able to fire and staying just that extra 6 inches out of touching range, that is super important, at least to me. And I think when it comes to taking all comers, you'd be fighting people with like white scars on bikes who are just moving ludicrously fast, right? Um, all that stuff, all that stuff is worth fearing and worth taking into account, right? Um, I'm looking at an Outrider squad right now. They move 14 inches, and they have an auto advance as well. They're auto advance 6, so they're moving and advancing, and I am so confident that the White Scars have an advance in charge, uh, or at least additions to their advances or additions to their charges. I'm not a White Scars expert, um, right? But you're in threat range here. When we're talking 6 inches, so that's a 20-inch movement, right? They still got to make a 10-inch charge to touch me at 30 inches, um, or maybe less if they have those pluses that I was talking about, right? But I need them to be able to make that charge. It's the fact that they have to hang their advance, their movement, their plan on having to charge me at some point instead of just driving right up and smacking me in the face. So that's the logic and reasoning there. Surely, I'm open to be shown wrong on that front, but that's what I'm considering when I'm taking these quote unquote less efficient shooting guns. The next question I get is why am I going bolters and not plasma and inceptors? Two reasons there. First one, I'm poor. You might notice that all my inceptors are kits. Sorry, not from the kits. They're from box sets, and so they all have the same poses, and they're pretty lame. Um, I'm trying to show how to build this army also on the cheap. I put those prices at the end of on the description of all my videos, but also looking at just raw numbers here. Did this up really quick for the Inceptors today. Kind of copied it off one of my master lists that I experiment with. I don't think calculating for points efficiency is the best way to build an army. I think there are better ways to do it and more interesting ways to consider how you should be deploying your army, but this is just a very bog standard direct calculation. I'm going to zoom in here just in case you can't see this on my crappy recording quality. But if we're looking down here at bolters versus plasma, top line is bolter. You can see it here. Then plasma 63 shots, uh, minimum of 6, maximum of 18. Overcharge, same thing, minimum of 6, maximum of 18. Uh, Going through a ballistic skill of a 66% chance of hit. We end up with 12, 4 for minimum plasma, 12 for maximum, 4 for minimum overcharge plasma, 12 for maximum. Um, and we scroll on through here. So this is when it comes to wounding. We're looking at a toughness 3 unit, right? Uh, Obviously the plasma's got blast, right? That's kind of important to consider, especially if we're shooting at orcs or something. You're gonna get maximum shots, and in that way, it's important. You can see here. So D2 is wounding on 3s. C2 is wounding on 2s. So the bolters wounding on 3s, I'm getting 8 wounds through, AP minus 2 in ideal situations. So they'll go right through most of that stuff. But I'm getting 8 wounds through. The plasmas are both getting 3 to 10. Uh, erring on the side of 3, it's terrible. Um, Obviously, they're very rarely going to make so few shots because they're a blast weapon, and just statistically, it's very unlikely that they get so few shots in. But that's just for everyone's edification. So if I divide the amount of wounds that I get, right, we're buying wounds, kind of some moneyball situation here. Of course, I would consider buying objective points in that case, not wounds. But buying wounds, um, it's 8 wounds at 120 points. You can see it at the top here. It's U5 divided by 120, the cost of 3 inceptors. My efficiency is 0.667, right? Here is the bottom bracket of just 3 shots with the inceptors paying at 180. It's 0.01852, really bad. At the top, it's 0.05556. So even at the top, hitting all of your shots with a plasma, it's less efficient against chaff units and just like weenie hordes than the bolters are. And like I know people are saying like, oh yeah, but Ultramarines guy, the plasma are not really for shooting chaff units. I'm like, okay, well it's a blast weapon. Clearly, it's supposed to be good at it. But let's scroll on down. Let's look at some toughness 7 vehicles, right? Talking about redemptors, that kind of thing. Looking at the top thing, the top row, the bolters are only going to get off 4 wounds against like a toughness 7 redemptor in perfect odds, right? Sometimes more, sometimes less. I've rolled to get none before. It happens. But then this 2 comes into play, right? The plasmas really could just get 2 shots through unovercharged, because they're doing it on 4s, toughness 7, non-overcharged. So those 2 things combined, you get 8. We're dividing 8 by 2 to get 4, which is average, right? It doesn't particularly matter. Oh, why is this 8? It does so with statistics and numbers. It doesn't matter what order you cut things in, right? When you multiply through probabilities, it doesn't matter what the order is. That's just statistic stuff. So when it comes down to it, it's 2 plus 6 divided by 2 is 4 divided by 180 points. Our efficiency is 0.222, right? It's 50%. Well, sorry, I guess it works differently, but the bolters are 50% more efficient than they are when it comes to wounding a higher toughness target just by volume of shots. That's right. That you will normally expect those plasmas to get through 4 wounds against a toughness 7. That's just because they're so swingy. And then even overcharge, we're looking at 2.66 versus 8. So that's like 10.6 divided by 2. So it's like 5.337 are your odds there. 5.337 divided by 180, 2.29. So better. I mean, certainly better, but terrible. Just dreadful compared to using the bolters. I always think that efficiency is not everything, and how you deploy your army, how you use them, how you determine what targets you shoot is going to be way more important than what you bring, right? We're Ultramarines. We decide how we're going to play the game before we touch the table, right? And even after we touch the table, we rapid redeploy and we continue to determine how we want to fight the battle. So, just to keep in mind, the bolters are consistent, they're very efficient point wise. People always opt for the plasmas. They always say the plasmas are better on every foreign messaging board, and maybe they are in their practice and in their experience. But in my experience and in my play, not only do I feel the bolters to be more efficient and more consistent, but also for the price of 3 plasma inceptors, I can have 5 bolter inceptors. And that is kind of crazy to me. We're comparing 3 and 3 here on this board, right? Um, I just would have a hard time being convinced to take them. And when it comes up to here, frankly, I'm not going to overcharge my plasma guys. So here they do better. The overcharged plasma does better than the bolters, hitting a toughness 8 um, guy. If I'm shooting a toughness 8 guy with my inceptors and having to overcharge just to like maybe kill it, I'm desperate. And if I'm that desperate, something else has gone wrong in that game, right? A toughness 8 thing is not the best target for my plasma weapon in that situation, and it's certainly not the best target for my bolters. Um, right? it's quite I mean, the difference is quite substantial though. So I mean, if you had to pick one in that situation, you'd be like, well, okay, would take the plasma in that situation. Okay. I mean, when it comes to damage, we can look at that really quick. Because the plasma does double the damage of the bolters, you would expect down here. Yeah, they certainly do much more damage. You'd average 12 wounds against toughness 8. This is 16 wounds against toughness 7, right? Which is more damage. It is more damage than we would do down here. It's different than how we would see it down here, right? We talked about this would be 5, so it'd be about 10 or 11 wounds versus 4 wounds, or 4 wounds actually applied to the model, for damage. So 4 damage versus what would average out to be 10 or 11. Um, Obviously, the 10 or 11 is better, but you're also overcharging for that privilege, right? This would be more likely for that, and in that case, um, wow, has this really been multiplied by 2? I guess it has. That's truly shocking. Um, right? I guess you can go between 2 and 6 wounds. But again, the average would be the same. So unovercharged versus bolters, the plasma is going to do the same damage against toughness 7. I just don't think overcharging is worth it on a 60-point model. Like, congratulations, you killed my Redemptor. It's 180 points. Not only did hopefully my Redemptor do more damage back to you, but also you definitely just lost one of your plasma inceptors. So it's whatever the Redemptor killed on your side plus what you used to kill the Redemptor. That's like the trade-off kind of four corners style of building a list and calculations, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Bottom line, I like the bolters better. If you like the plasma better, go for it. If they're better in your current meta, go for it. But I think the bolters are better for most of the board. Hopefully, I'm not shooting toughness 7, 8 things with my bolters, but that's just how it is. No invictor warsuits is the next question I get, because I have those 2 crappy venerable dreadnoughts. I'm with you 100%. I think the invictor warsuits are great. They do great damage, put out a lot of shots, very mobile, very useful for their forward deployment. All that stuff is true, and honestly, I'd rather have contemptors than I would have those 2 venerables. But those 2 venerables are ugly and they're dumb, but they're mine, and I've had them for a long time, and that's why I run them. They also hit on 2s. I think the hitting on 2s is actually quite helpful. Uh, they're very reliable. I know they don't put out too many shots, but their reliability, it's hard to question that. But I definitely think Invictors are a better pickup in general, especially now. Um, yeah, no Invictor Warsuits. Why? Because they don't come in any big kits, and I'm poor. That's the other answer. I'll probably pick up one just because they're so good, but I probably won't do that until next month unless someone wants to give me one. So that's that. Fourth question is, why am I not afraid of having enough shots with Melta? Um, this has been a thing people have brought up to me. They're like, dude, just take some Hell Blasters. Uh, they shoot way more shots with the Assault 3. Dude, just take them. I would. I would just take them. The thing is, I'm working with the same kind of weird trade-off, with the 3-shot assault bolter, 3-shot assault hellblasters. So a squad of 5 at 165 points would output 15 plasma shots at strength 6, I believe. Um, Great AP, great everything. But when I'm thinking to myself is like, okay, strength 6, so I'm wounding toughness 3 things on 2s, but when I get to toughness 4 things, I'm wounding on 3s. Toughness 5, I'm still on 3s, right? When I'm thinking about the Meltas, I'm thinking like 3s are on 2s and 4s are on 2s. We're talking most of the Space Marines, aside from Gravis, I'm wounding on 2s. That's kind of ridiculous. Those intercessors are 20 points a model. I'm wounding them on 2s. Not only that, but these guys fire twice, right? So I'm in a squad of 5 Meltas. Let's just say I'm not running a multi-Melta at all. Right, but a squad of 5 Meltas, I'm firing 10 Melta shots, hitting on 3s, so I'd expect about 6. Wounding on 2s, I'm expecting about 5, right, to go right through. AP kill you, right, there is no intercessor that saves against that, so I just got 5 dead intercessors on my hands. When I'm talking 15 plasma, okay, we're talking 15 plasma hitting on 3s, so times 0.66, I got my calculator right in front of me. Okay, wounding on 3s, times 0.66 again. 6.6 is what you're seeing on those plasmas. But the problem with the plasmas is they're not. Well, let me check the damage profile. I mean, not lie to anybody. The problem with the plasmas is, yeah, I was totally right. Um, they're damage one, not overcharged on the assaults. Um, and that's kind of a problem for me. So yeah, I got 6 hits through, 6.6. So we'll call it 7. I got 7 through. That's only 3 intercessors I'm killing there, right? And so if people are like, oh, what about orcs though? What about orcs? That's 6 orcs you're killing. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And against um, right, it'd still be on 3, so the math doesn't change, and it does change for the eradicators, right? They would only be on 3s then instead of 2s. But then I'd have what 10 eradicator shots hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. I did not put a decimal place, so I got something kind of crazy. Right, I'm only getting 4, and I'm way overkilling those guys. So I'm getting 4.4. So I'm getting 2 less dead orcs for having run eradicators. But as I keep talking about, I'm building this list to take all comers, right? I don't trust the Hellblasters to do enough damage against the Custodes. I don't trust the Hellblasters to do enough damage against a rhino full of sisters coming right for me, right? I do trust the Eradicators to do that. And when it comes to the Hellblasters, when I'm shooting a toughness 7, uh, when I'm shooting a toughness 7 Redemptor Dreadnought coming from my guys, right? I gotta overcharge, otherwise I'm wounding on 5s, right? I might as well shoot with bolters that are 1 damage at that point. Um, right, that's just kind of my thought process there. And I am not a big fan of overcharging. Not a big fan of unpredictability, especially losing models on my own shooting phase. So that's kind of why I'm not going for the Hellblasters. I find the Eradicators wound those intercessors on 4s, um, wounding a lot of things on 3s. You know, toughness 7 vehicles, strength, toughness 6 crap. I know Eldar and Tyranids have a lot of toughness 6 kind of stuff hanging around. So like keeping wounding those things on 3s, not degrading into 4s and 5s, I just personally find more effective, be more sustained. And it's like, yeah, you double fire, you way overkill stuff, you're way overkilling stuff on damage, d6 plus 2. It's like, yeah, but I'm also confirming, right? I don't know why I decided about the Pacific Rim. Like, I'm pretty sure this guy's dead, but we'll check for a pulse. I'm happy to check for a pulse. You know, total eradication or total obliteration or whatever their skill is called. Like, yeah, they fire twice. I'm happy with putting out 10 Melta shots, uh, and just wiping things out in front of me. 5-man intercessor squad holding a point, they're gone, right? No question, they're gone. Um, it's d6 plus 2 at every range. They're dead. Uh, looking at a rhino, this is d6 plus 2 at every range. I didn't even consider the d6 killing intercessors. I'm pretty sure that rhino is gone too. Um, all sorts of things like that. I just really like the Eradicators more than I like the Hellblasters. And people, I think, are still going to dog me on that until I get some GT results with the Eradicators list. So that's just my thought process there. Am I afraid of not having enough shots with Melta? No. No, I am not. Why don't I use adept of the codex? Why am I always running the Vox, whatever it's called? Sorry, it's like 8 syllables. I'm not saying that every time. The fact is, I got 5 turns. I would be lucky to recover 2 CP with it. I would rather have something have obsec for a turn. I would rather have an extra 3-inch aura to my reroll ones to give everything a 16% better chance of hitting things. I'm pretty sure that's how the math works out. You get a 16% chance. That's what I would vastly prefer to have in a 9-inch aura or Rites of Battle. Yeah, sorry, I already said Rites of Battle. Give things all core units obsec, including my dreadnoughts. I would much rather have that than I would have 2 extra CP. 2 CP is nice, but if I was really interested in CP and I was really gonna burn through it, I pay 40 points. I would make my guy a chapter master and I would give him on a 4 up. I gain an extra CP at the start of my turn, right? And then I could still pay one. I could pay 1 CP and give adept to the codex to like the lieutenant or something, and I could still try and get more back. Of course, I'd be spending CP to make CP, but technically, on theory, on paper, it would be net positive for me, CP wise. That's why I don't use adept to the codex. I know people really like it. I know the tabletop titans really love those guys, but they always have adept to the codex. I'm just not so big of a fan of it. Last question I keep getting is why am I so weird about the Ultramarines? My dad bought me the Salt on Black Reach box when I was a kid. Really liked them then. A little too stupid to play then. Now I'm a little less stupid. I really like ultras. I think people really put them down. And I think they got a lot left in the tank going for them that people just jump ship to go to whatever they're called, fractured successor chapters with them. I think there's something left in the tank for ultras. I think we can squeeze something different out of them as long as we look at the game in a slightly different way. Uh, yeah. Next video will be about deployment and the different ways that I like to think about and plan deployment. And how I build the lists. There are different ways to build the list. There are ways like, okay, these guys here I'm going to trade, these guys I'm going to use to hold objectives, this. I think that's a great method, but I think there are ways that you can combine and fold things in. And Ultramarines in particular, we should plan the games before we even hit the table. So those kinds of deployment strategies are what I'll be talking about, at least for me. I know this video is running super long. I'll throw this up really quick. This is some efficiency stuff I did for Redemptors. But uh, just to show, this is percentage difference. The onslaught is like up to 7 or up to 11, down to like 4% better than the flamer in almost every shooting case, not including Overwatch. That's why I said the onslaught was better in those early videos. And this is I know it's really messy. I did this on a laptop, not on my regular computer. The full kitted dreadnought is efficiency, same like dividing by points as up here. That's yeah, this is just me calculating efficiency. The Redemptor is the best with the Onslaught and the full kit, efficiency wise, just pretty much across the board. That's it for that. I just want to talk about this really quick. Some things that um, these are things that people had to say about Ultramarines recently. Uh, First of all, a lot of people run Gilliman. I like Gilliman. I think he's cool. I really don't think he's worth his points. But this guy is totally right. If you're gonna run him, he's basically an eighth of an army. Don't mess up how you use him because you'll be kind of screwed. This guy said he struggled with deployment. This is a veteran player. This is a newer guy. So I blinked out their names because I care. But yeah, I'll talk about how to deploy and stuff like that in the next video. 3 inceptors, same price as Redemption. Not sure which one's better. That's a lie. Don't believe that unless you're taking plasmas, and even the plasmas aren't better than the Redemptor. The Redemptor is better. Uh, as far as shooting goes. As far as movement goes, the inceptors are useful for like um, retrieving Octarius data, jumping down the backfield, causing chaos, that kind of thing. But that's like this guy is comparing incomparables, and by calculating the efficiency of different models, we can therefore determine how many points essentially you're paying for extra movement. Because if you equalize your efficiency and then subtract the amount of points difference, you can calculate how many points you're paying for each other skill. So like the Redemptor, probably if I were to compare its efficiency to like Eradicators or something, like a 3-man squad of Eradicators, how much damage output is it paying, or how much points is it paying extra over the damage output that matches the Eradicators, that equals Duty Eternal, that extra movement, extra saves, that kind of thing. Extra melee, you know what I'm saying. This is something else. This one here that some gent on Discord said. Chapter tactics is honestly so bad you could do better with the randomly determined successor traits. That's the kind of stuff that people say all the time, and I despise it and I resent it. And that's what we're here to prove that is not true. This is another thing I mentioned a few videos ago that I think the dreads are too squishy, and this gentleman agrees. He's like, "Well, my dread got his butt kicked," and that's me, Turbo. I was like, what dread? Redemptor. I'm like, yeah, it's shockingly soft. Especially in melee, there are a lot of high strength, like strength 14. Heck, it's a strength 14 puncher. That if it touches that Redemptor first on the charge, you might be saying bye to the Redemptor, especially the Tyranids who have like a D6 damage attack. The Redemptor is D3 plus 3. You're gonna lose that guy a lot faster than you think if you let him get touched, and how you deploy him. Another thing we'll be talking about in tomorrow's video. So if you stuck with me for 25 minutes, thanks. I know I sound like a crazy person for a lot of this stuff, but we'll be doing our best.